Today, you're going to learn how you can nail down your contrast in web design every single time. Before we begin, this video sponsor is bookmark.com, which is a free website builder that uses artificial intelligence to create websites right in front of your eyes. The entire process is less than 2 minutes, and it only consists of answering 7 simple questions. And if you need to sell stuff, you can create an online store very easily. It's really cool. I recommend it, so check out bookmark.com today. Hey everyone, Gary Simon of Coursettra.com. So today we're going to take a look at a plugin, a browser plugin called Kontrast. It's for both Firefox and Chrome, and it allows you to really nail down the contrast and whether or not the contrast that exists in your foreground versus background elements on your website or your layout meets in a minimum level of acceptability based on what's called the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines right here. So this is a document that exists on w3.org in this URL right here. And if we do a search, Control F for contrast, we'll see we have a minimum level of acceptability for contrast, referred to as AA, and then also an enhanced, which is a level AAA. And you'll see how this plugin basically integrates these two into the UI so that you can understand, if your foreground elements are contrasting well enough with your background elements. And this is very important stuff because obviously you want people to be able to read, what it is that you're saying or see whatever it is that they're supposed to see. All right, so this is the website address, getcontrast.now.sh, where you can grab this plugin. There's a free version. And then there's also the full version right here, which is $4.99. And I found them on Product Hunt just yesterday, so I figured I would cover it. All right, so for today's question, which other browser extensions do you use frequently? All right, so it could pertain to web design or whatever. It doesn't have to. Just let me know in the comments. I'll let you know what I think and which plugins that I use frequently and extensions in the first pinned comment here. If you enjoy this, make sure you subscribe and let's get started. All right, so once you have it installed, you'll see that it has a little icon, this K contrast icon right here, and then it's ready to be used. So we're going to check out 3 of these projects here, these sites, just to see exactly how polished it is or not. Now these particular examples are examples that that are submitted through my Discord server for review and such. So the first thing I guess I'll do is right down here, I would, even on my own without using the plugin, I would say this section right here with this white text and this very light yellow would definitely fail. So let's see exactly what this plugin says. So we click on it, it brings up this panel down here, and we can click on Inspect. And once we click on the section that we want to actually inspect, it will by default choose the foreground elements color right here and the background that it's sitting on as well right here. All right, and we can see it says fail. So the ways that you can do this, you can manually make adjustments over here until it doesn't fail. And I would think this personally wouldn't be that bad, but apparently it still fails. So now you can see if you look right here, it's transitioning from fail to the AA. And then it goes to AAA when we increase the contrast, essentially. Now you could also, instead of manually making the adjustments, let me refresh so we can get back to the default setting here. Hit Inspect. We could also click on Auto on the background side. You can see how we have it looks like duplicate icons. This applies just to the background section, and these icons apply to the foreground section. So depending on which route you want to take, you could either, in order to increase the contrast, you could either change the foreground element so that you go from white to something else that will contrast enough, or the background. So again, we'll do this manually on the foreground element real quickly. We can see that if we try to make adjustments, there we go. We get to a point right there where it has enough contrast. So let me just click on Inspect again. Oh, and it does change it up. We'll take these all back up to 255 where it was originally. But we could click on Auto. So let's try Auto on the background. There we go. That's what it would be, and it stays in the same hue, but it gets you to a point, though, where it is acceptable in terms of contrast based on the foreground element. So if I refresh again, let's try that on the foreground element instead. So we'll choose auto, and there you go. That is an acceptable. I don't really like the look of it personally, but in terms of contrast, it's working correctly. It's there. And of course, if you really want to increase the contrast, you can get up to AAA+ here. All right, so a couple other things that you can do here with this is you can copy, if for example, the foreground element, we're on the foreground side, the hex value, from which you can then go ahead and paste as a CSS property into whatever selector controls this area, or RGBA values, hexa, HSLA. These are all acceptable CSS values for color properties. And then same thing right here. This will do the background. And then pick, you can also pick it. So there are some cases, especially when the background, for instance, is like an SVG or a gradient or a photograph of some sort, where inspect won't work. So in that case, you choose pick. And we'll have an example, I believe, where we'll have to utilize that. So here's another one, another quick example. We could see that we have this element right here and this element right here. This one is perhaps the most important because it's a call to action. Check out my gallery, right? But I have my suspicions that this probably would not pass the test. It wouldn't even get to AA acceptability for contrast. So let's get it out and give it a shot here. So we're going to choose inspect. All right, and it fails because we can see it has the background, which is white here, and then the foreground element is this B4, B4, B4. So let's choose auto to see where it would actually end up if it were to get to AA acceptability. All right, it's just a little bit darker, but you could see in a sense it doesn't really contrast too much with this type, which is what his intent was. So you can change, you could take a different approach to this. What you could do is we could take, let's see, red, green, blue. Probably try to get it up to this color right here. That would make sense to me. We can see it's currently failing though, but we can make some adjustments. We should be getting real close, I would imagine. There we go. Right around there. I don't think it's the same color code, but I would use the same color code up here personally. And this really does stick out quite well enough. All right, so let's try another one. So we'll do, let's come down here. Oh, let me refresh this. I was screwing around with this just briefly. And I have my suspicions about this one. This is pretty hard to read. So let's get out our contrast tool again. We'll choose inspect. Now, remember, we have this interesting sort of background. It's probably SVG based, so it may not work. So just pay attention to the background when we select this white text here. So yeah, it got the foreground color, but the background is obviously incorrect. In this case, for the background side of the pick icon, we can now choose this color right here, and of course we see it does fail. So in this case, if you try to adjust the background color to auto, it's not going to work because this is an SVG image of some sort apparently. So what it will do though is it'll take that current color and just simply adjust it right here in the preview where it says background for this, and then you can go ahead and copy the hex value, and then depending on whichever graphics application from which you created this SVG in, you could then update it to match that. Or another route that you could take is for the background, let's pick this color again right here. We could change the foreground elements, and that certainly would work in this case because it's just type that it's changing the foreground element right here. And so yeah, that is it. Very useful tool. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed that. If you, I would definitely suggest checking out the free version of the plugin. It has a little bit more limited features, but seriously, $4.99, not very much, especially if you're a new designer and you're struggling to get your contrast correct. All right, so once again, answer today's question: which other browser extensions do you frequently use? If you enjoyed this, of course, subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon. Goodbye.